Hello everyone, and welcome to the Stalwart Initiative. We are back today with another Unearthed Arcana review. This review is Unearthed Arcana 2020, Spells and Magic Tattoos. Oops, if I don't keep moving it there. So this one's an interesting one. It gives us additional 11 new spells, 3 of which are pretty much normal types of spells, and then 8 new summoning spells, which are pretty cool, and I think they're implemented well as 11 magic tattoos. And I'll make a separate video for the magic tattoos. This one is going to be based on the spells to keep it from getting too long, and so we can do a decent review on them. Okay, so first up, let's go through the spells here, and mark down which ones go with which classes, so that so we don't have to keep bopping back and forth between these spell lists and the actual spells themselves. So the first spell we have is a first level evocation spell called Acid Stream, and costs an action. It's got a 30-foot range. It's a 30-foot line spell, and it's a concentration for a minute, and it's a stream of acid emanates from you in a line 30 feet long and 5 feet wide in a direction you choose. Each creature in the line must succeed on a dexterity saving throw or be covered in acid for the spell's duration, or until a creature uses its action to scrape or wash the acid off itself or another creature. A creature covered in the acid takes 3d4 acid damage at the start of each of its turns. So, just to get a baseline, whereas Burning Hands would give 3d6 damage, fire damage in a cone, this does a 30-foot line. It only does 3d4 acid damage, but it has the chance of continuing to do that damage each turn until someone takes an action to get the acid off the creature. This is both beneficial and can also be not as beneficial depending on what happens. So good news is that the creature has to take, the creature or another creature has to use an action to get the acid off them. So you're making them or someone else waste a turn to try to prevent this damage. The only bad part is that it is, they don't take it right away. They take it at the start of their turn, and this is a concentration spell. So there are 2 ways that they might not take it, whether it be someone uses their action to get the acid off before it does any damage, or if you lose concentration before the damage is able to trigger on the beginning of their turn. And it goes up 1d4 for each level higher you cast the spell. I think it's a nice alternative. Level 1 damage spells, there's not a whole lot of them to choose from, and having this in a 30-foot line is pretty good, especially if you can have enemies in a choke point and be able to get multiple enemies with this, especially at distance. I like it. It's a nice option, and depending on how many slots I have and how many spells I'm allowed to learn, this might make it into a spell list. This is it's a decent option. So next spell is Otherworldly Form. It's a 6th level transmutation spell. 1 action, you cast it on yourself, and it does take 500 gold pieces worth of what's this? An object engraved with a symbol of the outer planes worth 500 gold pieces. So keep this in mind. A lot of these things can be done with just a spellcasting focus, but when you have material components that have a gold piece cost, have a value, those have to be consumed to use the spell. So expensive spell to use, but let's see what it does. So it is concentration up to a minute, and uttering an incantation, you draw on the magic of the lower planes or upper planes, your choice, to transform yourself. You gain the following benefits until the spell ends. You are immune to fire damage and poison damage if you pick the lower planes, radiant and necrotic if you pick the upper planes, and you're immune to the poison condition if you pick the lower planes, and the charm condition if you pick the upper planes. Spectral wings appear on your back, giving you a flying speed of 40 feet. You get +2 to your AC. All your weapon attacks are magical, and when you make a weapon attack, you can use your spellcasting ability modifier instead of strength or dexterity for the attack and damage rolls. This is very useful for certain classes that aren't, most classes. If you're casting a 6th level spell, you're probably not wanting to be in melee all that much anyway. You can attack twice instead of once when you take the attack action on your turn. You ignore this benefit if you already have this feature like extra attack that gives you the extra attacks. So again, this is making a spellcaster more martial for the time being. This is a very powerful. Look at all those great effects. These are great effects for 6th level 6th level spell, you would hope they would be great effects. And they are great effects. The only catch is that it's concentration. So if someone knocks you out of your concentration, you just used a 6th level spell slot, and whew, I don't know. But this is a slew of effects, so I think this would definitely be worth it, especially if you know you're going to either be stuck in melee or you're trying to escape. So the additional armor class and flying speed and immunities. Yeah, this is definitely a lot of great effects. So I would love to see a player do this in a game. That would be pretty cool. So the next, the last of the regular spells we have here is the Spirit Shroud. 3rd level necromancy spell. You can use this as a bonus action. You cast it on yourself, and it's another concentration spell, up to a minute. You call forth spirits of the dead, which flit around you for the spell's duration. The spirits are intangible and invulnerable, and they are good or evil, your choice. Until the spell ends, any attack you make deals 1d8 extra damage when you hit a creature within 10 feet of you. This damage is radiant if the spirits are good, and necrotic if the spirits are evil. Any creature that takes this damage can't regain hit points until the start of your next turn. In addition, any creature of your choice that you can see that starts its turn within 10 feet of you has its speed reduced by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. So, this is a pretty cool spell. I guess I should have, yeah, I guess I should note that this is a bonus action spell, which is part of why what makes this spell good is that you can do this and cast a cantrip, an action cantrip, or use this and do an attack or any other action-based thing other than a spell of 1st level or higher. But this is pretty good. It does give you 1d8 extra damage, which is nice. If you upcast it to a higher level, you can add a d8 for each slot above 3rd level. But that's really, you're not getting a whole lot of mileage out of that. The damage is almost negligible. But you do get an extra d8 for your attacks, which is nice. And it says within 10 feet, so if you have a reach weapon, that counts for that. If you have a ranged weapon, even though it only counts up to 10 feet, you can still use a ranged weapon without gaining that penalty. So that's nice as well. You cut off their healing, which can be super valuable. And I do enjoy the kind of aura. If something starts its turn within 10 feet of you, it loses 10 feet of movement. That's flat feet. That's not having the movement. That's not making other calculations that might be askewed based on how much movement they have at that present time. This takes 10 flat feet off that. So that's pretty nice, especially if you're trying to catch someone or have them not be able to catch you or keep up with you or catch an ally. So yeah, Spirit Shroud's nothing too crazy, but it's very useful spell, especially for a bonus action. So those are our normal spells, and all the rest of these spells will be summon spells. And these vary from, every class gets at least one. Ranger only gets one, but each full caster, I should say. So let's take a look at these. So the first one is Aberrant Spirit. Now a lot of these spells are kind of based on the same formula. So each spell has a gold piece cost, and in that gold piece cost, it's usually whatever it is 100 gold piece per level of the spell. So like this is a 4th level spell, this Aberrant Spirit. So you're going to pay 400 gold pieces worth of, what is this, an eyeball and a crystal vial worth 400. So just remember that each level of the spell is 100 gold pieces more. Now that's the base. This doesn't go up if you upcast this spell to 5th level or higher. The cost doesn't increase, which is nice. But yeah, so a hefty price to cast these spells, but they are pretty damn cool. So these are all concentration spells. They last an hour. And I'm not going to go through the big blurb for each of these because it mostly applies, but I'll basically just give you the lowdown for it. So the Aberrant Spirit, yes, it spawns it summons an aberration spirit to you, and you can have that aberration. You can choose when you cast a spell, whether it's a Beholderkin, a Slotty, or a Star Spawn. And the creature physically resembles your choice. Yada yada yada. They're all friendly to you and your allies, and these are pretty cool. So the Aberrant Spirits, and this is going to be the same formula with all of these. So the Aberrant Spirit is a 4th level spell, and depending on what level you cast the spell at, the more you upcast it, certain things go up. So They're all based off spell level. So the armor class is 11 plus the spell level. So the Aberrant Spirit would start with an armor class of 15, unless you upcast it to a higher level, then that your armor class goes up. Same thing goes for hit points. You get 10 times the spell's level in hit points for every level of the spell. So that's pretty cool. In addition to like it's your spellcasting modifier and their con and stuff. That also the spell level also affects all these creatures. It affects their AC. Their AC goes up by 1. Their hit points go up by 10 for every level higher you cast it. Their multi-attack is based on the spell level as well. So when you upcast it, you can have the possibility of them getting more attacks. And their attack rolls and damage also go up as you depending on the level of the spell. So things to keep in mind. Okay, so these have a speed of 30 feet. The Beholderkin has a fly speed of 30 feet with the hover. And they're immune to psychic damage. And they have dark vision. And they each, the Slotty and the Starspawn have unique features. The Slotty has regeneration, so it regenerates 10 hit points at the start of its turn. That's super powerful. If you're using it to help tank things for you. The Starspawn gets Whispering Aura, so at the start of each of this aberration's turns, each creature within 5 feet of it must succeed on a Wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC, or take 3d6 psychic damage. Decent damage, decent aura, provided that the aberration isn't incapacitated. So they all have multi-attack, and since this is a 4th level spell, and the multi-attack is based on half of the spell's level, that means each of these creatures gets 2 attacks. Very nice. The Beholderkin didn't get a special feature, but it does have flying, so that's good. It has, for its attack, it has Eye Ray. So all these aberrations, their attacks are 3 plus the spell's level to hit. So it's a 4th level spell. You're getting at least +7 to hit, which is a respectable hit, or to hit range, and has a range of 30 feet. So it's ranged and flying, and gets 2 attacks. So that's why it doesn't get the extra cool feature. 1d8 plus 3 plus the spell's level and psychic damage. Decent damage, very nice. So you have a flying ranged Beholderkin flying around and helping you out. The Slotty gets the same +7 or higher to hit. It does more damage with the d10 plus 3 plus the spell's level. If the target is a creature, it can't regain hit points until the start of the aberration's next turn. So that's good. That's good as well. The Slotty has regeneration, and he can stop the something else from having regeneration. The Starspawn gets Psychic Slam. That's creature within 5 feet of it, and it does 1d6 plus 3 plus the spell's level in psychic damage. So it does less damage than the other two, but it also has that aura that does 3d6 psychic damage to anyone that starts their turn within 5 feet of it. So that's how it kind of equals out on damage there. So that's the Aberrant Spirit. And the classes that get the Aberrant Spirit are Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard. Can all use the Aberrant Spirit. Next up, we have the Bestial Spirit. It's a 2nd level, which is the lowest summoning level here. It is a 2nd level conjuration spell. It also takes an action, 90 feet cast range. So this one is much the same as the other ones. But when you cast a spell, you choose an environment. So you choose air, land, or water. The creature physically resembles an animal of your choice that is native to the chosen environment, which also determines one of the movement modes and things on its stat block. So let's scroll down here and see the Bestial Spirit. It's a small creature, as opposed to, I think the Aberrant ones were medium. Yep, medium aberration. This is a small beast. And it also, remember, you'll get the benefits of beast features that affect beasts with this. So this is 11 plus the spell's level, which means it only starts with a AC of 13, but you can always upcast it to raise that. So each of them gets 30 feet, and depending on whether you pick land gets climbing speed of 30 feet, the air gets a fly speed of 60 feet, and the water gets a swim speed of 30 feet. And there's its stats. They all have dark vision. The water one gets amphibious. It can breathe air and water. The air one gets flyby, which is super powerful. It doesn't provoke opportunity attacks when it flies out of an enemy's reach. And both land and water get pack tactics, which are super powerful. And this is only a 2nd level spell, which means you can access this pretty early. But there is a little caveat I'd like to mention here. So, so they get pack tactics, which is super useful to help them hit. They're going to need help hitting because all these multi-attacks for all these spirits, or all these summonings, are all based off of the spell level. And since this starting spell level here is only 2, it only gets 1 attack. So it's going to be harder for them to manage a hit. But the attack is +4 to hit, plus the spell's level, which means it starts at 6 and goes up based on what level you cast it at. And it is a D8 +4 plus the spell's level for piercing damage. So nothing crazy going on here, but it is you do get a beast spirit, and it's got pretty good. Each of them has pretty good mobility. You get to pick which kind you're summoning, and it starts at level 2, so that's good, and it will scale with you. I like the way they're scaling this based on spell level. And as far as the bestial, druid and ranger are the ones that get the bestial. Spirit. I'm actually going to start reading them at the beginning, so you know which classes are able to use these. So yeah, that's druid and ranger. Thankfully, ranger got a little bit of love there and is able to cast that one. Next up, we have the summon the celestial spirit. It's a 5th level conjuration spell, and this one lets you pick a when you cast it, you pick an avenger or a defender. And these are like angelic figures, and yeah, and each of them has different stats. Stat box up here. There we go. So these are large celestial creatures, and this is a 5th level spell? Yes, 5th level spell. So they each start with an AC of 16, which scales based on the level of the spell. They all have fly speeds of 40 feet. Each of them has resistance to radiant damage and also immunity to being charmed or frightened, which is nice that nobody can turn them on you. Let's see. Multi-attack. So they don't have any crazy special features, although they have immunities and resistances, and they have fly speed. But the number of attacks equals half of this, so they start out with 2 attacks, and if you upcast this to 6th level, then you get 3 attacks. So the Avenger gets a ranged attack, a Radiant Bow, which does 2 plus the spell's level to hit, so it starts at a 7 to hit, which is decent, as a range of 150 or 600 at max range. And it does 2d6 plus 2, plus the spell's level radiant damage. So this is basically giving you a pretty powerful archer for a sidekick for a while. The Defender, which is the one I like, it gets a radiant mace. It gets +3 to the spell and the spell's level to attack, which means it's starting out with a +8 to hit. Nice. Only 5-foot range, but that's okay. It's doing 1d10 +3 plus the spell's level and radiant damage. And the Celestial can choose itself or another creature it can see within 10 feet of it when it hits a target. Or 10 feet of the target. When it hits a target, the chosen creature gains temporary hit points equal to the damage dealt, provided it doesn't already have temporary hit points. Wow. So you are giving, at a minimum, the spell's level is 5. So at a minimum, you're giving yourself or someone else, let's see here, 5 plus, you're giving them 9 to 18 temporary hit points every time you hit something, and you're hitting something, you're attacking at least twice per turn. Super cool. And both of these choices also get Healing Touch once a day, which you can touch another creature. The target magically regains hit points equal to 2d8 plus the spell's level. Also very nice feature. So the Celestial one's pretty sweet. The Cleric and Paladin both gain the Celestial Spirit, the ability to cast it as a 5th level spell. So next up we have, skipping around. Next up we have the Elemental Spirit. And the Elemental can be cast by Druid, Sorcerer, or Wizard. Okay, yeah, Druid, Sorcerer, or Wizard. This one allows you to basically summon elementals. So air, fire, water, or water, or fire or water, air, earth, fire, or water. And it vaguely resembles a humanoid form wreathed in the chosen element. So this, what level of spell was this? 4th? Okay, so it's going to start with an AC of at least 15. And yeah, everything based on level as we've been looking at before. Let's see. So the air one will get a 40-foot fly speed. The earth will get a 40-foot burrow speed, and the water will get a 40-foot swim speed. Unfortunately, the fire doesn't get any love as far as movement there. But the air one gets resistance to lightning and thunder. The earth gets resistance to piercing and slashing. The water gets resistance to acid. But the fire does get a little bit beefier buffs. It gets immunity to fire and poison. So straight up immunity, that's good. Good to pull out if you're facing something that's doing predominantly fire or poison damage. They're all immune to exhaustion, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, and unconscious. They all have dark vision 60 feet. And the air, fire, and water are amorphous form. They can move through a space as narrow as an inch wide without squeezing. So that's nice, giving them more mobility and more RP implications. And they make a number of attack equal to half its level. These are 4th level spell. Yep. So they each make 2 attacks, and they all have slam attacks, which do 1d10 plus 4 plus the spell's level, or fire damage, bludgeoning damage for all the other ones, fire damage for the fire. So the elementals I think are just okay. They have decent mobility, and they're kind of they have a little bit of tank in them, but nothing too fancy going on there. Next up we have Fey Spirit. So this one's kind of cool, especially since the Bard gets it. It's the only one the Bard gets. So the Bard, Druid, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard can get Summon Fey Spirit. It's a 3rd level conjuration spell, and this one lets you it lets you call forth a spirit from the Feywild. This corporeal form uses Fey Spirit stat block, and you get to choose a mood: deceitful, furious, or joyful. The creature physically resembles a satyr, a dryad, or an elf, your choice, marked by the chosen mood, which also determines one of the traits in its stat block. So let's take a look. So the Fey Spirit is small. It's a small Fey creature, and it is a level 3 spell, so it starts with an AC of 14, which is okay. I mean, it's level 3, so it's not going to have that much anyway, but they all have 40-foot movement speeds, which makes you think, oh, they don't have quite the movement that a lot of these do, but let's look down here. So they're all immune to being charmed, which is nice, Fey-like, and they all get Fey Step. So as a bonus action, the Fey can magically teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space it can see. So, wow. It has a 40-foot movement speed, and it can teleport 30 feet per round as a bonus action. Pretty sweet. So, let's get into these. I like these tricky little things here. I like these little Fey guys. So, the Darkening Step, if you chose Deceitful, immediately after using its Fey Step, the Fey can fill a 5-foot cube within 5 feet of it with magical darkness, which remains until the end of the Fey's next turn. So this is cool. So you can have this little dark Fey kind of plop around, teleport around the battlefield, making little areas of darkness, like plopping it on someone so they can't see. So that will help disorient them, having them stuck in magical darkness, because not a lot of things can see in magical darkness besides like devils and whatnot. But so that's cool. If you pick the Ecstatic Step for the joyful for your joyful form, immediately after using its Fey Step, the Fey can choose a creature it can see within 10 feet of it and force it to succeed on a Wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC, or be charmed by the Fey for 1 minute. The charm ends if the Fey or any of its companions deals any damage to the target. So every turn, this little Fey Spirit can jump around the battlefield trying to charm creatures for you. And it goes off your spell save DC, which is nice, because you're typically going to scale a lot higher than something you can summon with a level 3 spell. So, super cool. And especially really cool that, like, in RP moments, you can have it in a bar, kind of bloop bloop, in a bar or tavern, bumping around trying to charm people. I like it. The last one is Impassionate Step. This is for the Furious form, and immediately after using its Fey Step, the Fey has advantage on the next attack roll it makes before the spell, or before the end of its turn. So this is decent. It's nice to help you have a better chance of hitting, but since this is only a level 3 spell, and the amount of attacks on the multi-attack are based off your level, you're only going to start out with one attack unless it is it's cast at 4th level or higher. If it's cast at 4th level or higher, I think that this is the Impassioned one is pretty decent, but only having one attack, it's okay. It gets advantage on the attack. Lower levels, it's okay. So they get a +3 to hit plus the spell's level, which means their starting to hit is 6, which is okay, especially early game. They do 1d6 +3 plus the spell's level piercing damage and an additional force damage. So that's pretty cool. I'm glad they give it a little extra damage there. I do like the Fey one. And as I mentioned, I mentioned who can use it. So next up we have Fiendish Spirit. This is the powerful 6th level conjuration spell, taking 600 gold pieces. Humanoid blood inside of a ruby vial worth at least 600 gold pieces. Yikes. This is costly to cast. But this lets you summon a Fiendish Spirit, and you can choose either Demon, Devil, or Yugoloth. So let's take a look at those. So it's a large, beefy-ass creature. Its AC starts at 17. That starts at 17. And it's got decent amount of hit points. All of them have 40 foot of movement. The demon has 40 feet of climb speed. The devil has 40 foot of fly speed. And for now, the Yugoloth doesn't have any extra innate movement there. They're all resistant to fire, immune to poison, and poison damage in the poison condition. They all have dark vision. They all have magic resistance, which is nice to help them stay on the battlefield. They have advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. They have death throws. So the demon has death throws. Sorry. When the fiend drops to 0 hit points and the spell ends, the fiend explodes, and any creature within 10 feet of it must make a dexterity saving throw against your spell save DC. A creature takes 2d10 plus the spell's level fire damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. You get a free fire spell, 2d10 plus at least 6, so 2d10 plus 6 at a minimum. That's nice. Little exploding bomb action there. The devil gets Devil's Sight. It can see in magical darkness, which can be useful in situations. Cool. The Yugoloth doesn't get another feature like that, but let's see what they do get later on here. So they get multi-attack, and since it's a 6th level spell, you get at least 3 attacks out of these bad boys. The demon does a bite, which is +9 to hit base, and because it's a 6th level spell, does a d12 +3 plus the spell's level necrotic damage, respectable damage, especially with 3 attacks. The Yugoloth gets claw attack, which is also at least +9 to hit. And it does 1d8 +3 plus the spell's level slashing damage. And immediately after the attack hits or misses, the fiend can magically teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space it can see. So the Yugoloth is interesting in that it doesn't get all the movement and extra features up top, but every time it even attempts to hit something with one of its 3 attacks, it could hit or miss and then teleport over somewhere else, hit or miss, and then teleport over somewhere else, hit or miss, and then this thing can teleport 3 times per round. This thing can bounce around the battlefield. That is super useful for its survivability, for its ability to help you and do battlefield control. It's very useful in that aspect. The devil gets Hurl Flame, so it gets a ranged attack and has a range of 150 feet. The damage is 2d6 +3 plus the spell's level fire damage, and if the target's a flammable object that isn't worn or carried, it also catches fire. Super cool. They're pretty beefy and powerful, and I probably didn't read off who can cast those. The fiendish ones is Warlock and Wizard get those. No love for the Sorcerer there. So the next one is the Shadow Spirit, and the Shadow Spirit can be summoned. Shadow Spirit can be cast by Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard, and same thing as everything else. But when you cast it, you choose Fury, Despair, or Fear. The creature physically resembles a misshapen humanoid marked by the chosen emotion, and which also determines stuff on its stat block. So let's look at here. So your Shadow Spirit is a medium monstrosity. And it is, what level was this? 3? Okay, 3rd level spell. So it starts with an AC of 14 or higher and has a movement speed of 40 feet. It has resistance to necrotic damage. It can't be frightened. It has dark vision up to 120 feet. And let's see what their little features are. So, Bloodthirsty Frenzy. This is if you chose the Fury one. The Spirit has advantage on attack rolls against frightened creatures, which you'll see they do have a frightening effect later on. So, the Shadow Stealth one for the Fear, while in dim light or darkness, the Spirit can take the hide action as a bonus action. So that's pretty cool. That can be really useful. The Weight of Ages, the Despair one, Any beast or humanoid other than you that starts its turn within 5 feet of the spirit has its speed reduced by 20 feet until the start of the beast's or humanoid's next turn. Whew, that is a crushing minus 20 feet to their movement. Yikes. So these are our 3rd level spirits, and with multi-attack, which means they only get 1 attack at their base level. Their attack is Chilling Rend. It does the attack is 3 plus the spell's level to hit, so it's starting at plus 6 to hit, and it does 2d8 plus 3 plus the spell's level cold damage. So okay, that's decent damage. They only all get 1 attack, but they do all have this dreadful scream once per day. So the spirit screams. Each creature within 30 feet of it must succeed on a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC or be frightened of the spirit for 1 minute. The frightened creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. So the Fury one needs this frightened or something to frighten the creature to get advantage. I don't think that's great. The Fury one's not that great, especially if this doesn't land. But this could land on multiple people, unfortunately, including your party members. So it's kind of iffy. This is a great feature, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of iffy on whether I'd pick the Fury one. The Shadow the Fear one is great because all it needs is dim light or darkness, and it could bonus action hide every turn. So that's pretty cool. The Despair one, as long as you're fighting beasts or humanoids, that's also really good. Reducing movement by 20 feet. Yikes. That is punishing. So, the Shadow ones I don't think are that great, but, you know, they're okay. It's only a 3rd level, so we're not expecting anything great like the Fiend ones, anything real powerful. So, last up we have Summon Undead Spirit. All the rest of the accoutrement as everything else. And when you cast a spell, choose a creature from the ghostly, putrid, or skeletal. And it resembles a humanoid with the chosen form. These are actually, I like these better than the Shadow ones. So they're medium undead. They get, this is level 3 as well, right? Yes, level 3 as well. So they start with an AC of 14, movement speed of 30, fly speed of 40 if it's a ghostly one. And they have immunity to necrotic and poison. Nice. And condition immunities, exhaustion, frightened, paralyzed, and poison. Nice. 60-foot dark vision. And the ghostly one has incorporeal movement. The undead can become incorporeal while moving and pass through other creatures and objects as though they were difficult terrain. If they get stuck in something and they're turning something, they get 1d10 force damage for every 5 feet traveled through it. For it to get shunted out. So that's nice. And the Festering Aura for the Putrid one, I like this. So the Putrid one has any creature other than you that starts its turn within 5 feet of the undead must succeed on a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC or be poisoned until the start of its next turn. So great, anything within melee range of it, which you want the Festering, you want the Putrid one to get up into melee anyway. So this is great. This could be multiple creatures too. Could be poisoning them. So it only starts at level 3, so unfortunately 1 attack for each of these creatures at base level. But the ghostly one gets Deathly Touch. It's melee range, and it gets 3 plus spells level, so it starts out plus 6 to hit. And it does 1d8 plus 3, plus the spells level for necrotic damage, and the creature must succeed on a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC, or be frightened of the undead creature until the end of its next turn. That's pretty nice. It's a pretty nice frightening effect with a d8 base damage there. Pretty nice. So the Skeletal gets Grave Bolt. So the Skeletal one doesn't get all the crazy features, but it's essentially an archer. It's an archer for you with a 150-foot range. Does 2d8 plus 3 plus your spell's level for necrotic damage. That's pretty good. Pretty respectable damage there. It's a pretty powerful archer, especially for a 3rd level spell. The Putrid one gets Rotting Claw. So, plus 3 plus spells level to hit. Does 1d6 damage, so less damage. Plus 3 plus the spell's level and slashing damage. But, if the target is poisoned from, hopefully, its aura, it must succeed on a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC or be paralyzed until the end of its next turn. Very nice. That is essentially, anytime you can hit with this thing, you're doing, what's the monks? Stunning strike to them. You are paralyzing them. Oh, so good. So good. for a 3rd level spell, if you can just manage to get this thing to hit, so good. Paralyzed. Well, they have to be poisoned, but there's different ways to poison them, including the aura from this creature. So that is it. That is a look at all our spells offered in this Unearthed Arcana. Let me know what you think. Let me know if any of these strike your eye. I guess I should have told you the undead one is Warlock and Wizard, can cast the undead spirits. So thank you so much for joining me, for looking over this with me. I'll make a video very soon on the tattoos. Just want to make these not horrendously long. And yeah, keep an eye on subscribe to the YouTube channel for more educational D&D stuff. It's a lot of Unearthed Arcana stuff now, but I'm going to start taking a look at some other stuff here soon. And check out our other YouTube channel, the Stalwart Archive. That's where we do all our Let's Play stuff from our Twitch channel, which you can check us out on Twitch every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. We play D&D on Twitch, and some other TTRPGs coming soon. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and everything's down in the description, including the link to this Unearthed Arcana. Everyone have a wonderful, wonderful day, and stay safe out there. See you next time. Or maybe after 9 minutes of finding the button.